I'm finished, the world will never forget.
Make the call.
Hold up!
Technically, we don't exist. We answer to no one. And when all else fails, we don't.
What did you say your unit was called?
I didn't.
Of course, this is based off the popular G.I. Joe toys, and of course it was made into a television series in the 1980s, which also spawned an animated movie, which is still pretty badass after all these years. But in this movie, you follow Duke and Ripcord, played by Channing Tatum and Marlon Wayans, who joined the G.I. Joe team, and after being attacked by military Armenians research syndicate Mars troops. And of course, their big enemy is Cobra, which includes some notable names in there, including Sienna Miller as the Baroness. We also have, I don't see his name on here. Where's Chris? Isn't that Christopher Eccleston? Yeah, I figured it was Christopher Eccleston. You also have him as Destro. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the man who will eventually become Cobra Commander. You have, who else do we have here? Rachel Nichols playing Scarlet. She was in Star Trek earlier in the year. Edwali Akinino Egbahi. I have probably butchered that name completely. I'm sorry for that, but he plays Heavy Duty, and you see Dennis Quaid as Hawk. And it's directed by Stephen Sommers, who gave us The Mummy, and those movies are... The Mummy is at least a fun, over-the-top movie. And if you're going to get anybody to direct a G.I. Joe movie that's not really going to ask you to use your brain and all that, this is probably the movie to do it with. And sure enough, who would have guessed that this would have been the much more fun Hasbro toy line movie than Transformers Revenge of the Fallen? I mean, who could have seen that coming? Maybe not back then, but certainly nowadays when you really think about it and considering what was going on at the time. But regardless, G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra is a pretty badass movie. I mean, this is a ton of fun. It knows exactly the type of movie it wants to be, and it isn't trying to dumb down its audience like Revenge of the Fallen did. Like, it's not written by people who are hacks. It's not written by somebody who had to take over because of the writer's strike. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know it's stupid. They know it's ridiculous, but you know what? They're going to do their damnedest to entertain the hell out of you, and sure enough, that's exactly what they do here, and the film just works. It's a very good movie. It's a silly, fun action film. I mean, it has a lot of stuff in here that just works so well. Everything about this movie is just so over the top, so ridiculous, but so fun, all on the same wavelengths. I mean, it's a really fun, silly movie. And it works because everybody plays their parts really well. Dennis Quaid's very good playing the leader of the team. You know, Channing Tatum, you know, this was his big chance to show everybody he could be potentially an action star in the future, which worked for a little bit, and then he eventually went the comedy route, and I think that's probably the best thing for him. Marlon Wayans doing something a little more straightforward and more serious than he's usually doing. And, you know, Sienna Miller looking gorgeous as hell as the Baroness. And Rachel Nichols is pretty good in here playing Scarlet, Sean Amber O'Hara. And I like the fact that she actually has a relationship with, of all people, Marlon Wayans, which is just like, and it does kind of work. It actually does play very well to the film overall. And, you know, you got Ray Park as Snake Eyes. Ray Park, of course, was Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace. And guy's pretty badass in here. He doesn't have to say anything, really. He just does to do what he does best. And it works very well. And the film overall is really good. It's a really entertaining movie. It's a very fun film that doesn't have to ask you to use your brain. It just says, check your brain at the door. Go in, have a good time, and unlike Revenge of the Fallen, it doesn't insult your intelligence with what they're doing here. There's nothing stereotypically bad about it. I mean, story-wise, it's nothing that's amazing or nothing that's spectacular, but it does give the audience what it wants to see. Do you want to see G.I. Joe on the big screen? Here you go. We're going to do it the right way, and yeah, it works really well. It's a film that is a very, very solid film. It's not asking you to use your brain or anything. It just wants you to have a good time, and it definitely delivers on that and then some. It's a really fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot. G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. Pretty good series overall, with the exception of Snake Eyes, the last film, but really that one, it really wasn't the film's fault, or really the actor's fault. It was really the actor's fault of that, Henry Golding. Just not a very good script overall. But the second one, G.I. Joe Retaliation, is not a bad one. We'll get to that one in 2013, of course, but that's G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. So let's get to one of the best movies of the year, and that is Amy Adams and Meryl Streep in Julie and Julia.
I'm Julia Child. She is so adorable. What if I cook my way through Julia Child's cookbook in 1 year and write a blog about it? Is it crazy? Yes. Oh, God.
Is that not the most wonderful thing you ever had in your life? Yes. The answer is yes.
Julie and Julia.
Bon appetit.
PG-13.
Of course, you have the story here of contrasting the life of Chef Julia Child, played here by Meryl Streep in the early years of her culinary career, with the life of a young New Yorker played by Amy Adams, who aspires to cook all 524 recipes in Child's cookbook, My Life in France, in 365 days, a challenge she described in our popular Salon blog, which made her a published author. Now, I didn't know this until I did the research. This is actually the first major motion picture based off of an internet blog, which I thought was kind of interesting overall, But yeah, talk about a good way to go out on your career with Nora Ephron. It really wasn't her fault because she passed away not but 3 years after this movie came out, and kind of ending a really solid film career. There were a couple misses there, but overall, great career. I mean, you do Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, Bewitched, which I still think is a really good movie, and this film. I mean, this is a really, really good movie, and it works largely because of Meryl Streep and Amy Adams. They both work off each other very well, even though we never see them together. You can see that they're both on the same wavelength of what they're trying to accomplish in their goals. Like, Meryl Streep, is trying to put together this cookbook, and Amy Adams is trying to find some emphasis in her life. She wants to do the same thing with her, and it creates this little bond that they have together that you never see them get together at any point, and it really does a very good job of handling that. And when you have somebody like Ephron who can make it works very well. And you also have a good cast that includes Stanley Tucci and Chris Messina. Not much more to say about it, honestly. It's a really damn good movie. It's a really entertaining film. One of the best movies of the year, easily. And like I said, a great film for Nora Ephron to go out of. I'm having trouble speaking right now. Overall, a really good film to go out on with your career. I mean, that's basically what I want to say. But, yeah, a really great film. Meryl Streep got an Oscar nomination for this. I feel like Amy Adams got screwed over by this because she should have gotten the nomination, but this was the only one that... Meryl Streep was the only one that got it. Not really much of a surprise because, Meryl Streep can literally be sitting on a toilet taking a crap, and they'd probably get an Oscar... She'd probably get an Oscar nomination for that. It wouldn't even be for a movie. They just do it anyway, But yeah, that's a pleasant way to go out on this review. That's Julie and Julia. So, let's go... Speaking of crap, here's a crappy movie. Perfect Getaway.
Place more beautiful
Wow.
than Hawaii's Nepali coast.
How far are you going?
The big trail?
You really should see it
Mind if we tag along? Yeah, are you kidding?
before you die.
They found 2 bodies on the beach.
On August 7th,
Someone on this trail isn't who they say they are.
It could be anybody.
long after the story's over,
People die out here every year.
the twist will keep you talking.
Come on!
A Perfect Getaway. Rated R.
Okay, first of all, when did someone say, "Do you mind if I do this?" Mean, yes, you can do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if someone ever says, "Do you mind doing this?" and someone's saying, "Yes, I do mind," I thought that meant don't do it. I mean, that's what I've pretty much been told to understand. But apparently nowadays, just like if someone says, "Do you mind if we do this?" Yeah, go ahead. No, there's no worries. Like, I mean, like it just like I don't know. But second of all, I didn't know that was Chris Hemsworth in there. That another movie he made pre getting cast as Thor. But third, this isn't a very good movie. I mean, this is a movie where you have Timothy Olyphant, Mila Jovovich, Keely Sanchez, and Steve Zahn, starring as a group of vacationing couples in Hawaii will find their lives in danger when murders begin to occur on the island, leading to suspicions over one of the couples being the killers. Yeah, and it's pretty much a straightforward ripoff of something like The River Wild, kind of, except it's a couple this time around instead of somebody else in there going off on this adventure. And the big difference is that The River Wild was actually something enjoyable. It wasn't a great movie, but it was certainly more enjoyable than this film. This is kind of a boring movie, man, and I don't know. Maybe it's just because I really don't like Mila Jovovich. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't help it. She's not a good actress. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you can be suckered into the Resident Evil movies all you want to, or Ultraviolet, but I'm sorry, she sucks as an actress. I've only seen one movie where she's been tolerable, and that's The Fifth Element. That's it. I mean, this is This is not a good movie. It's a boring film. The characters are so bland and stock. There's nothing about them that makes it interesting whatsoever. And you could pretty much figure out right from the get-go who the bad guys are going to be and what's going to be the big twist at the end. There's nothing surprising about this movie at all. It's a boring film. It's a lazy film. These actors deserve a lot better than this. And I'm talking about Tim Oliphant, Steve Zahn, Chris Hemsworth, Marley Shelton is also in here too. I mean, they deserve a better movie than this, man. It just isn't there. I might be alone on this, but Perfect Getaway is not a good movie. I'm sorry, A Perfect Getaway. I need to get the full title correct. So that is A Perfect Getaway. Not a perfect movie by any means, and far from it. It's pretty bad, in my opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, which is Michael Cera and Charlene Yee in the indie film Paper Heart.
It's not easy having a conversation when you know someone's going to be watching and listening. The moment we've met, everything's under a magnifying glass. Go! Go, get it! Guys! Are they chasing us?
So this is basically a romantic comedy which stars Charlene Yee from Knocked Up, and also been later to be seen in Steven Universe, and Michael Cera as fictionalized versions of themselves based on their rumored relationship at the time, though Yee had said they never dated. So essentially the film is based off of an idea for a documentary that would be accentuated with a fictional storyline, and I guess it's fine. But it's not one of the better indie movies in general. It just feels kind of like it's there. Like, there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or anything. You can buy I guess you can buy Michael Cera and Charlene Yee having this chemistry together as possibly a romantic couple. I mean, if they wanted to go down that route, that's fine, but why make a movie about something that never really happened if you're trying to sell it as somewhat of a documentary? I mean, you gotta have a hook to it at least, but other than that, though, there really is nothing about the film that makes it stand out on any way, shape, or form, and it's not even really that funny of a movie. I mean, it's a film where they're trying to do something different, they're trying to do something interesting here, but it just isn't there, and I feel like there should have been so much more that they could have done with this, but yeah, I was really expecting a lot more from it, and I'm kind of let down by it, per se. I mean, I really thought it was going to be a whole lot better than I thought it was, and it just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. So, yeah, not a bad movie, but certainly not the good film that I thought it could have been. Very much disappointed on this one. That's Paper Heart.
Going to breaking news.
The vessel seems to be disabled or in some kind of distress.
The course of human history has changed today.
There's a lot of secrets in District 9. District 9.
So District 9 is basically this movie that is taking place in a mostly found footage format, which features fictional interviews, news footage, and video from surveillance cameras, and explores the themes of humanity, xenophobia, and social segregation, beginning in an alternate 1982, when an alien spaceship appears over Johannesburg, South Africa. When a population of sick and malnourished insectoid aliens are discovered on the ship, the South African government confines them to an internment camp called District 9. 20 years later, during the government's relocation into the other aliens to another camp, one of the confined aliens, named Christopher Johnson, who was about to try to escape from Earth with his son and return home, crosses paths with a bureaucrat named Wikus van der Meer, I think I pronounced that right, leading the relocation, and the title is inspired by the events of Cape Town, District 6 during the Apartheid era, and for the longest time, the big thing about this movie in particular is that it only cost $30 million to make. This movie looks incredible for the $30 million budget that they had. And it worked out in its favor. It was a massive hit with critics. It was a big commercial success. Got nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And the one thing I always ask myself about this movie is, how did they do it? How did they make a movie like this for only $30 million? For the longest time, I could never figure it out. But this past time when I watched it again, I think I finally figured it out. And honestly, I think it's right in front of us why this movie cost as much as it did and worked. Think about it. Who's the biggest name attached to this movie? Peter Jackson. However, he's a producer on the movie. The film was directed by Neil Blomkamp, who had never directed a movie before this. It features a lot of actors in here who were relative unknowns. I mean, the biggest name of this group that I see here is Charles Copley, and even he wasn't really a big name when this movie came out. He kind of isn't now, but you still see him in more stuff nowadays. But that's why I think a lot of this movie is beneficial to the budget. What am I trying to say here? a lot of the film's benefit to having that $30 million budget mostly comes from the fact that there's no big names attached to this movie that would affect the budget overall. And compare that to what we see nowadays with blockbusters. You know, the Marvel movies, for example. I mean, yeah, they have some unknown directors there, but they still have notable name stars in there. They're getting these big paychecks, you know, from Disney and Marvel, and, you know, Star Wars is another one. You know, the DC movies. Pretty much every blockbuster has that feeling of, you know, these are not big names, but we could use the money to, you know, pay the actors and pay the directors and the bigger names involved in here, and also focus more on the special effects. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, really, is that this film did not have a big team around it overall in terms of notable names in here, but it didn't need to, because it had a really good concept overall. It has a really good look to it overall. This is a groundbreaking movie. This is a film that I really, really loved when it came out, and I still love it nowadays. I mean, this showed you what you can do with a very small budget overall. If you're able to pull off this with $30 million, you can do it with anything. Like, you know, you see these movies that are over budget overall. It's just like you come to the realization that they're not putting that money to the movie in general. They're putting it to the names. They're putting it to all the people that are the bigger names that are involved in this. They're not usually using it on the script overall, or focus. They're mostly focusing on the visuals and the names, because, you know, that's the only reason people will go to those movies, according to them. But I mean, we just saw recently Sinners recently was a prime example of a movie like District 9, where you have big names attached to it. Well, not even that, but Sinners overall had bigger names to it, but they were able to keep the budget down, and Warner Brothers just let them do whatever they want, and it paid off in the big time for them. But in the case of District 9, I wouldn't say this was really a gamble overall, but it really exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Nobody was expecting this to be as good as it was. On top of that, it's a sci-fi film that's supposed to be mostly an original concept, even though it's based off of a short by the same director called Alive in Joburg. But, you know, it's an original concept overall. It's an original concept that some people could look at this as probably a future franchise in general, and it didn't. I mean, they knew how to keep this restrained to one movie and not focus on another movie unless they really needed to do that. And they don't really do that towards the end of it, but I mean, it just goes to show you what this movie is capable of doing. It's a great film. Sharlto Copley, I think, is very good in his film debut. The visuals overall are very impressive. The alien work here is well done. The visuals overall are top-notch. I mean, this is a good movie. The story overall is really good as well. I mean, this film just works on so many levels, and yet you still wonder what happened to this director. I mean, this guy looked like he was on his way to becoming a big rising director in the future, because if he could do this with District 9, imagine what he could do with other projects as well. But they eventually gave him other projects, and they didn't really pan out as well as this movie did overall. I mean, look at the next movie he directed, Elysium. They gave him a much bigger budget overall. And yeah, it was a hit overall, but most people, including myself, saw it as more of a massive disappointment to District 9 in general. I still really like it, but at the same time, you could definitely tell that they were putting too much focus on the star power in that movie. And even when Chappie came out, which was a much smaller movie, but still a bit higher than this movie, it really did feel like Blomkamp lost his way. Of course, I've talked about that movie as one of my worst movies of all time, because, yeah, it's a terrible movie. And he hasn't been the same since then. He's not made a good movie since, where I got really excited to see him do something great again. And it's a shame, because this movie showed a lot of potential of what he could do if the studio just let him keep a restrained budget to it. But no, they saw how well this movie did. They gave him a bigger, bloated budget with the next couple of movies, and it just didn't work out for him. He hasn't made a good movie since this film. This was his magnum opus overall, and if we never get a sequel out of it, I think we should be more than happy about that. But as it is, it's a really good movie. It's a film that's very enjoyable. It's a very entertaining film. Yeah, it's a really, really damn good movie, and for the smallest budget you can make for a blockbuster like this. But yeah, not much more to say about it. District 9 is pretty freaking awesome, and if you haven't seen it already, you are doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to some other movies that came out this weekend, including Rachel McAdams and Eric Bana starring in the romantic drama The Time Traveler's Wife.
Friday.
Experience a love that spans a lifetime.
I don't want you to spend your life waiting.
The Time Traveler's Wife is magnificent and moving.
I've been in love with you my entire life.
Entertaining and beautiful. Rachel McAdams and Eric Bana are perfect in the summer's best romance.
I wouldn't change 1 second of our life together.
The Time Traveler's Wife.
I can't stay.
I know.
Rated PG-13 starts this Friday.
So it's basically Somewhere in Time, but instead of having Superman and Dr. Quinn getting together in a time travel romance, this time it's the Hulk and Regina George. So take that for what you will. I mean, it is literally like the equivalent of Somewhere in Time, but in this story you have Eric Bana, who is a Chicago librarian who has a paranormal genetic disorder that causes him to randomly time travel. He tries to build a romantic relationship with a woman played by Rachel McAdams, who he meets when she's a child, and who later becomes his wife. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff in this movie that seems really off, especially the fact that, you know, this guy wants to date this child, and it's really, really off at times, but it does work. Eventually it does. It takes a little bit to get going. Like, once you get past the ewiness of how these two meet in the first place, you know, this is a film where, once it gets going, you do start to get invested overall. I thought Eric Bana and Rachel McAdams had some really good chemistry together. I thought the concept overall was really good. I think it's a fun concept, fun idea with time travel. You know, have this guy who has this disease that causes him to randomly time travel and then, you know, build this relationship overall. I mean, it's something that works overall, and I thought did a pretty good job of handling that. They got a good writer involved in this, Rysher Rubin, who wrote the script for Ghost, of course, and this director, Robert Schwentek, has not really gone on to do a whole lot of good stuff overall. I mean, this is the same guy that did Flight Plan, Red, R.I.P.D., the Divergent movies, Snake Eyes. Probably this is his overall best movie as the director, and even then, it's not really starting off that strong overall. But with that said, though, it's not a bad movie. It's just something that you have to get through the first maybe 20, 25 minutes of it to really get invested in it overall. This is coming from somebody who never read the book overall. I don't even know if the book is anything like this movie, but I know that the writer of this basically said she had no intention of ever watching it, so take that for what you will. Sometimes it means that they know the movie is bad, or sometimes you can be like Alan Moore. I just don't want to watch anything of your work, period, pretty much. But overall, yeah, I thought the movie was pretty good. It has to take some time to get going, though. I mean, it really takes about near a half hour for the film to really show off its good stuff overall. And once it gets going, it's pretty good for what it is. So take that for what you will. That is The Time Traveler's Wife. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is a criminally underrated comedy that came out this weekend, produced by Will Ferrell, and that is Jeremy Piven in The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard.
Sir, there's no smoking on airplanes.
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
If you like that, I'll have to report you to the FAA.
Stacy, did you know that in 1969, when smoking was allowed on all flights, we put a man on the moon?
I have no idea.
And it starts with ashtrays, and it ends with all of our precious freedoms being stripped away. But we don't have to take it. Like Rosa Parks and David Lee Roth when he left Van Halen, we can say enough injustice. We can smoke one for America!
Who are you?
I'm done ready. I got the goods.
Jeremy Piven as Ari Gold as Don Reddy in The Goods. And that's pretty much what he is in this movie, but God bless it, he makes it work. In a desperate attempt to save his rapidly failing used car dealership, Ben Selleck hires a crack team of car mercenaries to ramp up sales during the 4th of July weekend. Led by the fast-talking, foul-mouthed, self-assured Don, The Goods Ready, the group has 3 days to sell over 200 cars, but as Don undertakes his newest mission and quickly falls for the boss's daughter, Ivy, he realizes he'll have to trust more than his cars and his crafty skills in the seek to make a success out of the daunting weekend. As you see a little bit in the trailer there, this thing has a stacked-ass cast to it. I mean, Jeremy Piven, Ving Rhames, James Brolin plays Ben Selleck, David Koechner, Catherine Hahn looking her hottest in this movie. I mean, good lord. That red hair does her good in this movie. Ed Helms, Jordana Spiro from My Boys, very underrated actress overall. Tony Hale, Ken Jeong, Rob Riggle, Alan Thicke, Charles Napier, Jonathan Sadowski, Noreen DeWolf, Wendy Malick, Craig Robinson, Brian Callen, Matt Walsh, Ian Roberts, Kristen Shaw, Jessica St. Clair, T.J. Miller, Will Ferrell has an uncredited cameo in here, so does Gina Gershon, Paul Lieberstein. I mean, this cast is stacked with notable names in this movie that just work very well. And this is a really good, funny, underrated movie. This is a film that came and went. Nobody went to go see this movie. It got pushed off to the side. It didn't do well with critics overall. But, I mean, it did make its money back overall. It only cost $10 million and brought back $15 million. So it wasn't a huge flop overall. And, yeah, it's actually a whole lot better than you would give it credit for. I mean, it's literally the Will Ferrell formula, except the fact that it's not Will Ferrell, it's Ari Gold from Entourage. And Jeremy Piven is a very good, fun, comedic actor. I mean, he's great on Entourage. He's great in stuff like Very Bad Things. I mean, the guy has acting chops all across the board, and he is such a good actor. And here, he gets a chance to shine in a rare starring role for him. I mean, this is a rare starring role for him in particular. And he just makes it work to a T. He has a great cast around him, just a really good concept overall. I mean, this is a really, really damn good movie. It's a very funny film. So well done. I really enjoy the hell out of this movie. This film does not get the proper attention it deserves, but man, it's one you want to check out. If you want to see prime, good, Will Ferrell-esque like comedy when it's actually very funny, this is definitely one to check out. The goods, live hard, sell hard. Seek this one out. You will not be disappointed by it whatsoever. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that's the latest film from Hayao Miyazaki, Disney's latest Studio Ghibli release, Ponyo.
He has been hailed as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. This summer, Hayao Miyazaki, director of the Academy Award-winning Spirited Away, releases his next masterpiece.
We've all been waiting for you. The whole world is out of balance. Ponyo, you have to trust me. You're the only one who can save the planet. Do it now. Do it.
Walt Disney Pictures presents a Studio Ghibli film featuring the voices of Liam Neeson, Noah Cyrus, Frankie Jonas, Tina Fey, Betty White, Cloris Leachman, Lily Tomlin, Matt Damon, and Kate Blanchett.
Good luck, Ponyo.
What is that?
Yes, thank you once again for reminding us who's in this movie, because I clearly couldn't tell that was Liam Neeson and Tina Fey and, Betty White, Cloris Leachman, Lily Tomlin, Matt Damon. Yeah, thank you for reminding us of that, because clearly that's the intention of this movie, to sell the names, not the movie itself. But I digress. This is, of course, Ponyo, the latest film from Hayao Miyazaki, and I love how the trailer is completely lies to you. It makes it seem like the dad, Liam Neeson, is fully in on Ponyo saving the day, but it turns out that Ponyo is actually the one that kind of starts the whole thing overall, and he's more than upset about the whole thing. I mean, that's literally what the plot of the movie is. You have the story of a goldfish named Ponyo, played by Noah Cyrus, who escapes from the ocean and is rescued by a 5-year-old boy, played by Frankie Jonas, Sosuke, after she is washed ashore and trapped in a glass jar. As they bond with each other, the story deals with resolving Ponyo's desire to become a human girl against the devastating circumstances brought about her acquisition and use of magic. And, it's definitely one of the more bizarre Hayao Miyazaki movies, but one of the more awkward ones, too, because some of the English dubbing on this is not really all that good. I mean, there's definitely a lot of times when you could just tell that the actors are there to just be notable names in the film, and they're not really giving it in. Like, there's a part in the movie where, Matt Damon plays Sosuke's father, and he sees Ponyo for the first time and what they're doing with all the fishes and all that. And, he has this look on, the way he says the line, it's a little girl. She looks like she's Sosuke's age. Like, just the way they say it, it's just like, it's odd, But man, Liam Neeson is the one who comes off the oddest in this movie. Like, he has lines in this film where, you know, he's like, you don't really know if he's trying or not, but the more times you hear it, it's more hilarious to see this strained performance out of him that just feels off. Like, there's a part where, you know, he's going to Kate Blanchett, who I guess is kind of the mother of this goldfish, sort of. It's a really weird concept overall, but you know, there's a part where he's like, he has to say the lines, "Please destroy the little boy or the planet is doomed." Like, it's something where it shouldn't sound off overall. It's a weird line overall, but the way Liam Neeson says it with that monotone voice of it, it's just like, "Please destroy the little boy or the planet is doomed." Like it's weird, it's off-putting, but at the same time, it makes me laugh every time I hear it, because it's one of those lines where it's just kind of like, what the hell was that? What was that take? Was that really the best take you could do with this? But regardless, it's still a pretty good movie overall. This is a film that is visually pleasing as all hell to look at. It's that great classic Studio Ghibli animation we're so used to knowing and loving, and it is a real fun story that's both heartwarming, kind of intense too, and a bit dark at times too, even though the story overall kind of doesn't really make a whole lot of sense overall. Like, characters will do stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. Like, Lily Tomlin is one of the old people in here that's so obsessed with this fish being brought back into the ocean, because if he doesn't put it back in there, it'll cause a tsunami. And she says tsunami like 10 times in this movie. Like, she is over the top in this movie. In fact, most of the people in here are either over the top, or they're too monotone and too strained with what they're doing. But in a way, that's kind of the fun factor with the movie. You don't really know what's going on in here, but you're still invested with what's going on. It kind of gives the movie more of an edge than most of Miyazaki's works overall. It can be very funny, even when it's not intentionally supposed to be funny. A cast that is doing the best they can with this. Good music overall. It's still a good movie overall. It's a film I do say that I do enjoy it. I still think it's a ton of fun. It's one you should definitely check out. It's Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli very rarely makes a bad movie overall. I think the worst thing they ever did was that CG movie that they did a couple years ago, but really, they've very rarely steered the wrong way. It's a film that, it is what it is, but it's what you come to expect from Studio Ghibli. It's a good movie overall. What more can you say about it? Ponyo's a ton of fun. So, with that said, let's get back to some more underrated gems that came out this weekend, including our next movie, Vanessa Hudgens, starring in Band Slam.
Place where music's all that matters.
How big is this whole Band Slam thing around here?
Texas high school football, babe.
They're going to challenge the rules.
The winner gets actual record deal.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, who's gonna sing it?
And follow their dreams.
She's the coolest person on the whole planet.
You kissed her yet?
I don't even know what to do.
Just start by gently moving a strand of hair from her face. Genius.
Band Slam, rated PG. In theaters August 14th, along with an exclusive look at New Moon.
Yes, come see it for the sneak preview of the Twilight Saga New Moon. And if you're smart enough, you'll actually stay for a really good movie out of this that sadly did not do very well. It was a commercial failure at the box office. But the film overall was well received by critics for the most part. And overall, it's a very good movie that really deserves a lot more attention. I think I gave you some bum information last time when I thought Ashley Tisdale was in this movie. Once again, I'm completely full of it because she is not in this movie. It's Ali Mashaka from Phil of the Future, and, you know, part of the Ali and AJ group overall. So it makes sense that she's in here. It's a movie about rock bands overall, where you have a story revolving around Will, played by Galen Connell, and Charlotte, Ali Mashaka, who form an unlikely bond through the shared love of music. Assembling a like-minded crew of misfits, the friends form a rock group and form in a Battle of the Bands competition called Band Slam. And of course, he has also he's kind of a love triangle between Mashaka and also Vanessa Hudgens. What a great movie, man. Talk about one of those surprises that really came out of nowhere. I mean, this is a film that is really, really good. The performances overall are very good. Everybody in here plays their parts very well. The casting overall is great. Not only the three leading actors, but you have Scott Porter in here, Lisa Kudrow. There's cameos by people like David Bowie. I mean, this is a really good movie overall. The music overall is great. Like, it's a well-made film. It's a really, really damn good movie, and I think the biggest problem with this movie overall was the marketing. They really did a pretty bad job of selling this movie overall. I mean, it's something where Deadline Hollywood did an article about this not too long after the movie came out, and You know, some of its marketing had been basically sold it based on the fact that it had Vanessa Hudgens and Ali Mashaka instead of selling the concept of the movie. And the email also claimed that they basically Disneyfied the movie with glitter paint. And Yale Daily News marked the film having the worst marketing, pointing out that Summit Entertainment, who had done an admirable job marketing the Twilight films, completely ruined what should have been a sleeper hit. Well, if you have to promote your new Twilight movie with this film, yeah, chances are you're probably not doing a good job of selling the film in general. And so, yeah, the film kind of came and went. And it's a bummer because it really is a very good movie. The music overall is great. This is directed by a really good director, Todd Graff, whose last movie was Camp. And the next movie he'll make was Joyful Noise, which I think is another really good underrated movie with Keke Palmer, Queen Latifah, Dolly Parton. Really, really good movie. This is a good director overall, and I wish he kind of did more stuff overall, but I don't... Yeah, I think the last thing he directed was Joyful Noise. He hasn't done anything since then, but... I mean, overall, he's a really good director, and he really shows it with this movie. This is a really good movie. One that sadly got overlooked when it came out. Bad marketing overall. But it's definitely worth a look out for. Definitely seek this one out if you can find it. Band Slam really is worth your time. So that's what I highly recommend. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Ashton Kutcher starring in Spread.
So when did you decide to stop playing with me?
What makes you so sure I stopped?
When I first came here, I thought every day was going to be a Van Halen video. Damn you, Van Halen.
Oh yeah, he talks like Matthew McConaughey in this movie. I completely forgot about that. It's been a couple of years that I've seen this movie, and yeah, watching that trailer again, I just come to the realization of, oh, he's supposed to be Matthew McConaughey. That accent can get pretty old pretty fast, but the movie overall really is a lot better than you think it is. You have Ashton Kutcher starring as a homeless, carless, and closing in on 30 person who's living in Los Angeles. He's immoral, good-looking, and inept in the sack, moving from one wealthy woman of 35 or 40 to another, a kept boy toy. His newest gig with Samantha, played by the late Anne Hesh, an attorney whose house overlooks L.A., is sweet, although it's unclear how long she'll put up with it. Then Nikki meets Heather, played by Margarita Oliveira, really looking good in this movie. This is actually her first major film role, and of course she would later go on to star in, most recently she was just in Daredevil Born Again. She plays a waitress who is in the big movie, asks the question, is the player being played or might this be love? What will Nikki discover? So there's a little bit of a Matthew McConaughey comedy, but also a little bit thrown in of Boomerang, that Eddie Murphy movie, where it's pretty much kind of the same concept overall, except that one was more played for straightforward laughs. This one is more dramedy-ish type of a feeling overall. It goes much more darker than most people would expect it to do. You also have a cast that includes Sebastian Stan, Ashley Johnson, Rachel Blanchard, Maria Conchita Alonso, Hart Bachner. It's a film that kind of came and went, didn't really do a whole lot overall, but it's a lot better than I think people make it out to be. It was not received well by critics overall, and it was interesting to see Ashton Kutcher taking on a much different role overall, but you could definitely tell this was something made for Matthew McConaughey, because, I mean, right down to him trying to act like Matthew McConaughey, which I really think was a bad move overall. Like I said, the accent gets old pretty fast, but the character overall is very interesting, and I think everybody else in here does a very good job. I thought Anne Hesh was really good. Margarita Oliveira is very good here. Sebastian Stan. There's a lot of good things I like about the movie overall. Is it a perfect film? No. There's definitely a lot of flaws, specifically with how Kutcher plays the role, but the character overall is interesting enough, and I like the concept overall. There's a lot of good talent in here, too, so yeah, I think it's a much better movie than people let on. Is it a great movie? No, but it's certainly a lot better than I think most people make it out to be, and one you should definitely check out. See Ashton Kutcher in a much different role than you expect it to be, so anyway, that is Spread.
And that's business, cousin. Businesses are booming. Their name. The guns pulled out in boxes. Big target. But a mission like this, punch the guns out and burst in their blasting. Never goes according to plan. Yeah, just like that. From director punching challenge, you know. Brad Pitt. Oh, yes. You glorious bastards. Rated R.
I think it might be some of his best work. Maybe not, but that's a line from the movie if you haven't seen it. But This is a story that takes place in an alternate history of two converging plots to assassinate Nazi Germany's leader at a Paris cinema. One through a British operation largely carried out by a team of Jewish-American soldiers led by Aldo Raine, played by Brad Pitt, and another by a French Jewish cinema proprietor, Shoshana Dreyfus, played by Melanie Laurent, who seeks to avenge her murdered family. Both are faced against Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz, an SS colonel with a fearsome reputation for hunting Jews. And, this is Quentin Tarantino doing what Quentin Tarantino does best. This is probably, overall, his last great movie, in my personal opinion, because, then again, no, he did Hateful Eight. I wasn't a big fan of Django Unchained, and I just thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was just okay overall, but compared to some of his best works overall, this really isn't quite up there with stuff like Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown, but it's a really good movie regardless. I mean, you got a great cast, Brad Pitt's... I cannot speak right now. Brad Pitt is doing a very good job handling this role. You got some great young stars, and most people wouldn't have known at this point. Melanie Laurent doing a good job playing Shoshana Dreyfus. Michael Fassbender, Eli Roth is very good in here. B.J. Novak's also one of the people that works under Brad Pitt's battalion. But the big star of the movie easily is Christoph Waltz, and I mean, this guy works very well with Quentin Tarantino. I mean, two of his movies he was in, he won 2 Academy Awards for. And Django Unchained, I don't like that movie that much, but he was definitely one of the stronger things about that movie. But here, he's great as Hans Landa. He's got great lines in this movie. He can be very threatening while also being very charismatic. I mean, the best line of his in the movie is when he's like, "Now that's a bingo!" Like, I like that line. I love that line so much. But the action overall is really good. It fits right into Quentin Tarantino's territory, what he does best. It's a really good movie. It's a really good, engaging movie. It's a film that just holds up very well. And hey, Mike Myers is in here, so he gets a little bit of a redemption after The Love Guru the year before. It's granted a small role, but hey, it's a step in the right direction overall. But yeah, overall, this is a really good movie. One of the best, maybe not one of the best movies of the year, but very close. I mean, 2009 was a very good year for movies, but this is definitely one of those films that, yeah, it's definitely right up there with some of Quentin Tarantino's more enjoyable works overall. Maybe not one of his best movies overall, but certainly one that I really enjoy a lot. Definitely one of the last really good films of his that I really do like. The other one being The Hateful Eight, but that's Inglourious Basterds. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And now we're going to the crappy movies. Robert Rodriguez's shorts.
Hey guys, look! It's a wishing rock. You make a wish, and then it comes true.
From the director of Spy Kids.
I wish one of us was super smart. It is I. You're hearing me with your mind.
More adventure
I wish you were ours!
than you could ever wish for.
Say hello to my little friend!
Shorts.
I wish I had telephonesis! Telekinesis, you dummy!
PG starts August 20th.
I mean, kind of the trailer gives you an indication of why this movie doesn't work. It's a story where you have a rainbow wishing rock that ends up in the possession of different people, where the wishes have various results for those who make the wishes in a series of shorts. And they're literally shorts because they're little segments. Like, you'll have a segment involving John Cryer and Leslie Mann as a couple. You'll have a segment involving James Spader. William H. Macy also has a segment in here. So does Kat Dennings and Jimmy Bennett. This one is just not enjoyable, really. I mean, even think for the kid audience that it's attached to. I mean, I'll say this, it's slightly better than Shark Boy and Lava Girl is, but at least Shark Boy and Lava Girl had some funny, over-the-top moments in there that kind of made it worth it. I mean, the line reading from the kids in that movie are much more funnier. Send them to the principal's office and have them expelled! Like, that type of stuff. And George Lopez is pretty fun, playing a fun, over-the-top character in that movie. This one, it really doesn't seem like there's a direction for this movie in particular. And, I mean, I guess the kids can enjoy it, but overall the adults who really like Robert Rodriguez's work, I just don't see it in here. I just didn't think it was really worth it. I thought it was kind of bland and mediocre. I mean, there's nothing really all that great about it. Some good ideas overall, but never enough for me to say that this is one that I think kids would really like. I don't think really the kids overall will really get into this. And you can kind of see why they dumped it out in the middle of August. Usually when you open a movie this late in August, a kids movie in particular, you're not really expecting a whole lot from it. And it didn't do bad business overall. It did make its budget back, but even then, this is one that I think most people probably forgot about almost immediately. It's not one of Robert Rodriguez's better movies overall. And, hey, it's at least better than his Spy Kids movie coming up after this. But anyway, that's short. So let's go ahead and move on to another bad comedy that came out this weekend, and that is Postgrad.
It is my great honor to welcome you to our college graduation ceremony.
Everyone say overpriced education. Talking about the big interview.
Peppermint and Browning Publishing.
Wow! It's a ride.
I'm Ryden Malby. I have an interview at 10 o'clock. Have a seat with the rest of the applicants.
Why do you want this job?
I'm driven, full of ideas, upbeat. Most importantly, I'm incredibly enthusiastic about the work your company is doing.
Really? Like what?
I mean, that's literally what it feels like this character is in this movie. Like, she literally thought she had everything she wanted and then some, and then you get a situation like that, and, you know, she's just sitting there like a deer caught in headlights. I probably should have just done this. Like, no, let me do that again. That's probably what her reaction should have been like here, but this is Postgrad. This is a film where you have Alexis Bledel starring as a recent college graduate who moves back in with her family when she figures out what she wants to do next. She's just graduated from college. She wants to get this job at a book. I think it's a book company. And then, you know, you see it in the trailer there. This person says, "Okay, well, what else can you do?" And like, she's prepared for this, but she's not prepared for the interviewer, you know, asking questions out of left field. So you got to be prepared for that type of stuff. I mean, even in a regular job interview, you have to be ready to answer those type of questions. And part of the problem with the movie is that it has a good idea. It's a good concept to have an idea where you think a college graduate's going to have the right idea of where they want to go in life, what's their next direction overall. Now, even a high school graduate can be very much in that same situation where you see a lot of the ideas of, you know, where do you want to go with your life. I mean, I had that happen to me when I graduated high school, and I went to community college for a couple of years, and then I didn't finish community college overall, but yeah, I mean, this could be a really good idea for a really good movie. You know, show what happens to these people where, you know, okay, you prepared for the future, so what happens when the future says you're not ready to head into this direction that you think you're going to? And the film just doesn't do that. It just kind of just takes the easy way out of it. It doesn't ask the people who are this is going to be attracted to the questions that you want to know. Like you're about to graduate from college or high school. What's your next direction in life? I mean, and unfortunately, it takes the predictable rom-com route. This is like it almost takes a My Girl type of route, because she ends up she has this boyfriend, but she ends up falling in love with another guy who and you know it's not going to turn out in the end. And it's just, the whole movie overall just takes an idea that should be very easy to put together in a movie and just doesn't do it well at all. And it's a shame, because I like Alexis Bledel. In fact, there's a lot of good people involved in this movie. Jane Lynch, Michael Keaton, Carol Burnett is in this movie. Carol Burnett, like, you've got a comedy legend in this movie, and this is the best you could do with it? And the weirdest thing about it is this is directed by Vicky Jensen, who is a name you might not be familiar with, but you have definitely seen her work before. She's mostly known for her animated work. She's done stuff like the Shrek movies, Shark Tale, worked on stuff for the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Ren and Stimpy. This is a woman whose work goes all the way back to 1977. This is her first feature film, a live-action feature film as a director, and this is the best you could come up with? I mean, I just maybe think the script was just not very well thought out. I think they just wrote this because they knew that this was going to catch the tween audiences no matter what, and it didn't. It was a critical and financial failure, and you could kind of see why from that trailer alone, the full trailer overall. But other than that, though, yeah, this is a film that should have been much better than it actually is. It's a film that should have been a movie where they said, okay, for you college graduates and high school graduates, watch this movie, and we're going to give you a life lesson of what happens if your plans don't go the way you want to. I think just the script overall really was just not well put together here, and that doesn't really matter who you would have put in this movie, because honestly, you could put anybody in this movie and it probably wouldn't have worked. I know Amanda Bynes was at one point going to be in this movie, but unfortunately, you know, she passed on it, and supposedly the script was rewritten 15 times, according to Ivan Reitman, who's the producer on this movie. This is his company, the Montecito Picture Company, and yeah, that should probably give you a warning sign right there. This is probably not going to work out as a film. And this isn't written by a hack writer either. This is written by Kelly Freeman Craig, who has later gone on to write really good stuff, like The Edge of 17. You know, she also wrote, she was a script doctor on Bumblebee. She did Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So this is not a hack writer. This is somebody who really is somebody that could actually write good stuff, or she would write good stuff later on down the road. But this just isn't what it should have been. It's just a disappointment overall, because I feel like there is a good movie there, but there's just not enough there to say it's one worth checking out. It's just a film that kind of takes the safe way out and just really doesn't deliver what it should be, especially for young graduates coming out of college or high school. I feel like it should have worked for them, but it just doesn't overall. So yeah, skip post-grad. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Disney's X Games 3D, the movie. The strange thing about this is that this is not the first time that Disney and ESPN made a movie about the X Games. They did a movie back in 2002 called Ultimate X, the movie, which I did cover on this channel for that particular weekend. I believe it was May 10th, 2002, if I'm not mistaken. It was around that time. It was released in May. So here's another movie where you have a film that captures the drama and spectacle that plays out every year at the X Games, highlighting the behind-the-scenes stories of the featured athletes and the sacrifices they make in pursuit of glory and the advancement of their sports on the industry's biggest stage. And yeah, people like Travis Pastrana in here, Shaun White, Ricky Carmichael, Brian Deegan. You also have archival footage of Tony Hawk, Matt Hoffman, and Emil Hirsch as the narrator. And I mean, it is what it is, and like I said with Ultimate X, there's really not a whole lot here in this. I mean, the big difference between that movie and this movie is that Ultimate X was shot for IMAX, and this is being shot for 3D, which could probably look cool in 3D, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, there's nothing really all that interesting in this movie overall. I mean, fans of the event will probably like it overall, but it's just kind of pretty much an advertisement for the X Games, and there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or anything that makes it unique in any way, shape, or form. Plus, I mean, I don't know, there's just nothing really about it that makes it anything that great overall, what I'm trying to say. And, I got nothing else for you. This is just kind of a bland documentary, if you even want to call it that. Yeah, X Games 3D, the movie. So let's go ahead and move on to some indie films that came out this weekend, starting with Robin Williams and Bobcat Goldthwait's World's Greatest Dad. Trust me when I tell you this is the best Robin Williams comedy you're going to see in 2009, because the next one is Old Dog, so take that for what you will. But you have Robin Williams in here starring as a man who's learning to settle down. His son Kyle, played by Daryl Sabara, is an insufferable jerk, and Lance is dating Claire, the school's art teacher, but she doesn't want to get serious or even acknowledge publicly they're dating. In the wake of a freak accident in which his son ends up, autoerotic asphyxiation himself, nearly killing himself doing the David Carradine thing, Lance suffers the worst tragedy and the greatest opportunity of his life. He's suddenly faced with the possibility of all the fame, fortune, and popularity he's ever dreamed of, and if he can only live with the knowledge of how to get it. And yeah, this is pretty much a dark comedy, a type of dark comedy you expect from Bobcat Goldthwait, who gave us Shakes the Clown, which is a great dark comedy from the 1990s. And while this isn't quite Death to Smoochie levels of darkness, it's definitely a movie that is really, really fun to watch overall. Let me put it this way. This is Dear Evan Hansen if Dear Evan Hansen worked and actually paid off in the end. Dear Evan Hansen is a prime example of a movie where, in a story that you're supposed to follow this guy who takes a suicide note, having it land in the wrong hands, and causing a chain of events that results in consequences, including him becoming this more popular kid, and somebody that had no idea that he should be involved in it. And it's just such a bad story, because you're following somebody in that movie that you're not supposed to like at all, but the movie wants you to root him on. It's just kind of like, no, fuck no. This, however, is quite the opposite. Yeah, it wants you to root him, but it's a movie where you're not really supposed to root any of these people on, but you are so invested in what the hell is going on that you just want to go along for the ride here. And it helps you have a really great cast overall to make it work. Tom Kenny's also in here, Toby Huss, Cotton Hill from King of the Hill, Artie from Pete and Pete, Jill Talley, Bobcat Goldthwait himself is in here as well, Mitzi McCall, I can't even remember the black guy's name, the black guy that was just in the trailer. I just saw his name. I don't really want to look it up if I have to. I feel like I have to, though. It was literally staring at me right in the face, and I didn't see it. Henry Simmons. Mac from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was also in NYPD Blue. But the film overall is just really funny and really dark, really twisted, and just everything you expect from a Bobcat Goldthwait movie. It's just such a sick, twisted, fun, dark, over-the-top comedy. Maybe sick and twisted is not really the right word for it, but it is very twisted and very dark, and it just... I miss dark comedies like this, man. We don't get a lot of these anymore, but this was probably one of the last really good ones, and one you should definitely check out. Definitely watch this one. It's a very underrated movie. World's Greatest Dad. So with that said, let's move on to the last film we have here. That's Jason Schwartzman starring in The Mark Pease Experience.
Good morning, students of New Amity High School. This is the all-powerful Ripple speaking. I've taken over these morning announcements to deliver a very important reminder. It is opening night.
A movie so terrible that you can't even find a trailer for it. Paramount literally dumped this in theaters after bad test screenings, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the story here is that Jason Schwartzman stars as Mark Pease, a man living in the past when he was the star of his high school's musical. And Ben Stiller stars as Mark's former mentor, and also Anna Kendrick stars as his love interest. You also have Jay Paulson, Evan Moss-Baccarat in one of his pre-Bear roles, Keelan Coleman, Gabrielle Dennis, who you see a lot in the Old Spice commercials with Dion Cole. And the most notable is this is a movie that was one of the films that was affected by the writer's strike, so there was a delay of 6 months before the extra scenes they were going to shoot for this were going to be shot. And on top of that, this was a film where there was a lot of controversy with the studio and Ben Stiller, who was one of the producers on here. According to this New Yorker profile on Wikipedia here, in a New Yorker profile on Ben Stiller and his assistant Nick Stevens acknowledged asking the studio to bury the film to protect the star's reputation of making hit movies. So it was Ben Stiller who was the one who said, yeah, you got to bury the film. But the completed film fell well short of Stiller's hopes. Paramount could have put it out there as their next big Ben Stiller movie, he says, but that would have been fooling the audience. Nick Stevens called Paramount to ask the studio to weigh the short-term loss of limiting the film's release after the long-term relationship with his filmmaker, and Paramount released the film domestically in just 10 theaters that week, and it grossed $4,033. So yeah, Ben Stiller was the one that said, okay, we got to get rid of this sucker. I mean, this is... So it's not quite the The Experts, that 1989 John Travolta movie where it was going to be released with Paramount with a major release, and then they completely buried the film because of how bad it is. But it wasn't because John Travolta wanted it buried; it was because the studio wanted it buried. Ben Stiller was the one who said, "Yeah, you've got to shut this down." And yeah, and watching the movie, yeah, I can definitely agree because the film is kind of bland and kind of mediocre. It's not. It really isn't the actors' fault. They're trying their best to hold it together, but it just isn't worth it in the end. And Anna Kendrick in here, you know, this was one of those movies where, if I have to say one good thing about it, she's the one thing that really sticks out about it. And I think that's the one reason why I really came out of this movie not completely hating it overall. It's a bad movie, but... You know, Anna Kendrick's in this. She's going to show later on in the year that the Twilight movies are really the film that's holding her back as an actress because she would later star in Up in the Air, which actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, got her an Academy Award nomination. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so, yeah, the Twilight movies are bringing her and a lot of the people in that cast down. But, yeah, she's really good in the movie. She's the one thing in this film that I would say is the strongest part of the movie. Everything else... Not so much. I mean, Jason Schwartzman's trying way too hard. So is Ben Stiller's not really doing a whole lot. But, yeah, the one person that comes out of this relatively unscathed is Anna Kendrick. And she's really the thing that really holds it together in some way, shape, or form. I'm still not going to say this is a good movie by any means. But I can definitely see why Paramount dumped this movie. Because they knew. I mean, Ben Stiller knew this was about as bad as it got. And, yeah, it just didn't work overall. Even with Anna Kendrick's good performance in this, it's not worth it to sit to watch this movie. Skip this one, the Mark Peace experience.
Hey, how old is this place? Got me.
We're fine. That's why they built the fence there.
We're all gonna die, alright? It's gonna be a crash.
Have you lost your mind? You saw it before it actually happened. We're alive, and so are a lot of other people.
You keep having these visions. I see how the next person's gonna die.
What do you mean, the next person?
Survivors in the accident.
What if we weren't meant to survive?
What's gonna happen to us?
I think we can stop it.
Look out!
Now admit it. You've all had a situation like that where where you were standing on an escalator and you were worried that you were going to get stuck. Like, I saw that episode of Rescue 911 where they did a recreation of the story of the kid that got his shoelaces caught in the escalator, and they were afraid that he was going to get chopped up by it. I mean, that fucked me up as a kid. So seeing that in the movie, it just made me like, oh, I got bad memories of that. But yeah, this is the Final Destination. Complete lie, because this thing became a big hit, and of course we got another movie coming out of this, which will come out in 2011, and then we have a sixth film coming out this weekend, actually, as I'm recording this. But what should have been a fun-filled day at the races, Nick O'Bannon has a horrific premonition in which a bizarre sequences of events causes multiple race cars to crash, sending flaming debris into the stands, brutally killing his friends and causing the upper deck of the stands to collapse on him. When he comes out of the grisly nightmare, Nick panics, persuades his girlfriend Lori and their friends Janet and Hunt to leave, escaping seconds before Nick's frightening vision becomes a terrible reality. Which, I always never understood the fact that, you know, the point of getting the people out of there before the vision happens, shouldn't that kind of cancel out the devastation beforehand? I mean, again, that's me kind of thinking about the same thing in Final Destination 3, but I guess here it kind of makes sense because the racetrack, you know, you have accidents like this all the time. But anyway, back to the story. They're thinking they cheated death. The group has a new lease on life, but unfortunately for Nick and Lori, it's only the beginning. As his premonition continues and the crash survivors begin to die one by one in increasingly gruesome and stupid ways. I mean, come on. When Family Guy literally does the bit later on where Quagmire gets hit by the T-bone by the lawnmower, and it's literally almost the same thing, except Quagmire's not dying a horrible death like this woman is. I mean, that's part of the problem with the movie. But I gotta finish the story up here. Nick must figure out how to cheat death once and for all before he too reaches his final destination. The film marks the latest in the highly popular Final Destination series in its first 3D installment, giving horror fans an especially visceral thrill ride. And at the time, this movie was not seen as a big critical darling or a film that most people would see as any good. And yeah, like I said, it was a film that I remember not liking too much early on, but as time had gone on and you really look back at how bad Final Destination 3 was, this one does actually come back around to being somewhat fun again. Incredibly stupid but fun. Like I said, some of the deaths in here get so ridiculous and so pathetically over the top. Like, it's just kind of like, you're either going in knowing that you're going in for something stupid, or you're just going to question it and just not want to come back to these movies. I mean, like with the first two movies, they do find a creative way to get you hooked. The opening is great. the scene where the mall is just completely being torn apart is just so much fun to watch. I mean, it's one of the more creative and fun sequences they've done here. And yeah, the first half and the second half, the opening and the ending are really the strongest parts of the movie. Not everything about the movie works overall, but the deaths are back to being fun again. I mean, unlike the last movie, they're not being dragged out for 5 minutes like they were in Final Destination 3, where they just really took their time to build this whole thing up. It's just like, come on, just get to it already, for the love of God. And here, it moves a lot faster. The pace is much quicker. And yeah, they're not dragging it out all the way to the point where you're just ready to just scream at the scream at the movie to wrap it up already. No, they're not doing that. It's a really fun movie. Stupid, but fun. But then again, most of these movies are pretty fun. Case in point with the last film. And will the new film, Final Destination Bloodlines, continue that trend? That's for another show. We'll talk about it there on the next episode next Sunday. But yeah, that's the Final Destination. That's an example of a horror sequel that actually works. Now here's a horror sequel that doesn't work. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Hell is here.
I know he's not going to come back just because of some stupid holiday.
This summer, only one movie will get your adrenaline pumping.
Call 911.
And your heart racing.
There's blood everywhere.
From director Rob Zombie. This Friday.
And Michael Myers' sister.
Discover the darkest secrets. Michael is all evolved. And experience the terrifying final chapter. Halloween 2, rated R.
Or let's just call it what it really is. Rob Zombie's, hey, look how hot my wife is. Let her be the full focus of the movie, even though the whole movie should be about Michael Myers, and instead of my wife playing his mother. Because that's literally what this whole movie is. Rob Zombie literally puts the focus on his wife as Michael Myers' mother, and she basically just takes over the entire movie. That's one of the first problems this movie has. This is, of course, the sequel to the remake of Halloween from Rob Zombie, which was okay for what it was, but this is where the shit literally hits the fan. As Laurie Strode, once again played by Scott Taylor Compton, deals with the aftermath of the events of the previous film. Dr. Loomis, played by Malcolm McDowell, tries to capitalize on the events with a new book, and Michael Myers seeks to reunite with her sister and, cause chaos and mayhem at that point going forward. And yeah, the biggest problem with the movie is the fact that Rob Zombie's wife took over this movie. I mean, she's all over this movie. It's not really even about Michael Myers or even Laurie. Like, they're kind of, off in the distance in this movie. They don't really have a whole lot to do here. And the whole movie just comes off as really underwhelming, because it's just like, what are you even trying to do? What is he even trying to do with this movie, except the fact show everybody that, hey, I got a hot wife. I'm pulling the Paul W.S. Anderson thing, where I'm going to put my wife in this, even though she can't act her way out of a paper bag. And, as much as I hate Mila Jovovich, Sherry Moon Zombie is not a good actress at all. And when she's on screen, it's just kind of like, okay, you're making Mila Jovovich look better. You are completing the ultimate sin in Hollywood, is making Mila Jovovich look tolerable in a movie. And here, yeah, this film, there's no excuse for how bad this is. Yeah, Rob Zombie wanted to provide a glimpse into the character's psyches and all that type of stuff. Well, you know what? You could do that without whoring out your wife in the process, because that's literally what happens in this movie, and just kind of pushing all the other characters off to the side. The scares aren't even that good in this movie. This thing is just such a complete waste of time and a waste of your patience, and it just really, really feels like there's just nothing there. There's nothing of value here whatsoever, and all of it, in the end, it's just kind of like, what's the point? Like, why are we even here right now? And there's no point to it whatsoever, and it would only make less sense if a studio that was very reliable, Blumhouse Studios, would later come in and do a Halloween trilogy where, they somehow make it even stupider than that. At first they didn't do it, but then, kind of like with the Rob Zombie movie, they did it not once but twice. They made it absolutely horrible in the end. But we'll save that for 2018 when we get to the Blumhouse Halloween. But Halloween 2, this one not so much. Just stick with the original Halloween 2. It's the much better movie. It's directed by somebody who is more reputable than Rob Zombie. John Carpenter. Not even John Carpenter didn't direct that one. No, he worked on it, but it was directed by Rick Rosenthal. But still, it's a way better movie than this Halloween 2 is, and it's not even close. So anyway, that's Halloween 2. That's one you could definitely skip. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Ang Lee's latest film, and that is Taking Woodstock.
69. All Elliot had were his parents.
Dad, that's bleach.
It kills the germs. Their hotel.
What are you doing with those sheets?
They're dirty.
Those two didn't do nothing in there. Shake them, put them back.
And a permit.
My application for a summer music and art event. $1.
But that's all it took.
You have a permit? Yes.
For the party.
For Woodstock Nation. Think anyone will come?
No. Of the century.
We've made brownies.
Baby! Dimitri Martin, Eugene Levy, Emile Hirsch, Liev Schreiber, Taking Woodstock. Rated R.
Boy, Lee Schreiber liked to dress up in drag more than I thought. I mean, he was dressing up in... He was a woman in Mixed Nuts, and here he's playing a woman as well. And, yeah, I did not think he played he played a woman in multiple movies. I thought he was just the one in Mixed Nuts and not in this movie. But anyway, this is Taking Woodstock. This is Ang Lee's follow-up to Brokeback Mountain. It's 1969, and Elliot Tiber, a down-on-his-luck interior designer in Greenwich Village, New York, has to move back upstate to help his parents manage their rundown Catskills motel, the El Monaco Resort. The bank is about to foreclose. His father wants to burn down the place but hasn't paid the insurance, and Elliot is still figuring out how to come to his parents. When Elliot hears that a neighboring town has pulled the permit of a hippie music festival, he calls the producers thinking he can drum up some much-needed business for the model. 3 weeks later, 500,000 people are on their way to his neighbor's farm in White Lake, New York, and Elliot finds himself swept up in a generational defining event that will change his life and American culture forever, that of course being Woodstock. And coming off of the movies he had made before this, he also did Lost Caution too, Brokeback Mountain, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is a film where the possibility is there for something good. There's definitely a lot of things about it that are good about the movie. But in the end, you still come out feeling a little bit underwhelmed by what you see here. It felt like Ang Lee was trying way too hard to do something that was kind of more, not really on the level of something like one of his bigger movies he had done, like Hulk, but not even something on the lines of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Brokeback Mountain. I just don't think his heart was in the right set for this. I don't think he was the right person to make this movie. He didn't write the script for this, and I think that's part of the reason why the film kind of falls apart pretty quickly, But it's a good cast overall. You've got Dimitri Martin, Imelda Staunton, Henry Goodman, Liev Schreiber, Jonathan Groff, Eugene Levy, Emile Hirsch, Paul Dano, Kelly Gardner, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Adam Paley, Dan Fogler, Catherine Roterston. A lot of good people in the movie. A good idea overall, telling the story of how Woodstock became this massive event that nobody really saw coming and became the centerpiece of American culture as a whole. But the film doesn't really do anything that tells you anything that you don't know already about the story of Woodstock. There are documentaries that are much more appealing and much more engaging than this movie is. And that's really kind of the one bummer about it. It's just like, you see this, and nothing really interesting happens in it whatsoever. Like, nothing really makes you go like, oh, I didn't know about this. Let me watch this and continue on and see if I can find something. And it just isn't there. And like I said, I think Ang Lee's heart wasn't in the right place for this one. That's why I kind of think this one kind of fell apart at the seams, and it just didn't work overall. Take what you get with his next movie, Life of Pi. That's a movie where you could tell he was clearly in on that one. He wanted to make this grand movie on the level of Brokeback Mountain, and that one worked for what that was trying to do. This one, not so much. Yeah, not a great movie, but not a bad movie. But not a bad movie, but not a great movie either, is what I'm trying to say. So, mixed opinion on Taking Woodstock. So let's go ahead and move on to some indie films now with our next movie, and that is Patton Oswalt starring in Big Fan.
If you need 6,000 egg rolls, put all that stuff on.
This bacon stuff everyone to me. Family, show me.
No, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Where are you going? Boy.
Well, this is a story that most sports fans can relate to. To most who know him or even merely see him in his life, 36-year-old Paul Affilio, played by Patton Oswalt, is a sad sack of a man. He still lives at home on Staten Island with his mother, who basically supports him. He works at a dead-end job as a parking garage attendant, and his mother states his only ever girlfriend has been his overworked hand. But Paul staunchly defends his life to others who rail against him or try to help him, especially in being what he considers the biggest New York Giants fan there is. He and his only true friend Sal attend every home game, although only as tailgaters who watch the game on a battery-powered TV in the stadium parking lot, while the other tailgaters have tickets to see the game inside the stadium. And he spends most of his time writing what he will ultimately say on Sports Talk, post-game call-in radio show, as well-known fan caller Paul from Staten Island, making his fan ravings sound as unscripted as Giants-Ravens, especially as the Giants and Eagles battle for the division title. Paul and Saul believe they've died and gone to heaven when they spot their favorite Giant, quarterback Quantrell Bishop, a 5-time Pro Bowler, out one evening. The elation of the night to this point changes after they finally decide to approach Bishop. That encounter may make Paul reevaluate his devotion to the Giants, whose seemingly easy march to the postseason has now become a little more difficult, and by association, everything that he has held true to his life, his entire life. So basically, what happens in the movie is that they come across this quarterback played by Jonathan Hamm, who's actually a former amateur boxer and an actual football player too. But they meet him up at a gas station, and he ends up beating the crap out of Patton Oswalt's character, and he basically is given an opportunity to sue the guy, and he can't really decide, should he do this or not, because he's afraid that if he does, the team's not going to make the playoffs overall. And maybe what I said before about something we could all relate to, maybe a little bit much overall, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, it's not to this extreme overall. And what makes this movie work is Patton Oswalt, who's given a really good performance for a character that you don't know if you really want to like him or not, because you do want to believe that this guy really cares about his football team and is willing to do whatever it takes to do it because he's that big of a fan. Like maybe to an extreme measure. I mean, this is a point where, like, he's given a chance to file a $77 million lawsuit against the dude, and he can't do it because he is so convinced that if he's not there, the team's going to lose the game and miss the Super Bowl altogether. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and it's one of those things where it's just like, you believe in his convictions, but at the same time, you're passing up on a possible $77 million lawsuit. You take the money, man. It's like with Flash of Genius. It's just kind of like, yeah, I know you want to be the guy that wants to have this idea of yours be your idea, but you lost out on $40 million and your family fell apart because you decided to back down on that. That's one thing I don't like about Flash of Genius, is because you want us to root for somebody who's lost his entire family and lost out on millions of dollars just so he can win this argument against the big car company. It's just like, nobody wants to see that. Here, it's that same thing, but it makes more sense because you do believe in the character, and you don't, but you also don't hate the guy. Like, you hate some of the motivations he does, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you don't know if you should like him or not, or should hate him. It's just really, it's a very difficult situation to be in overall, and Patton Oswalt just makes it work overall. He's really good in the movie. Kevin Corrigan is very good playing his best friend. Michael Rappaport is really good in here. This is directed by Robert D. Siegel, who wrote The Wrestler, and also would later go on to direct The Founder, which is the Ray Kroc movie that starred Michael Keaton, which is a really good movie. And also, I didn't know this, the editor on this movie was Josh Trank, the man who would later go on to create Chronicle, and then completely destroy his career with Fan4stick. So that's something else you should take from it. But if you want to see Patton Oswalt in a much more daring role, where it's not just him playing in a typical character you've seen before, Big Fan's definitely one you want to check out. It's a really good movie. It's one where you don't know if you should really be behind the character's motivations overall, but it keeps you invested all the way through. It's one of those movies where you don't know if you should like the main character or not, but you're so invested that you don't care, and you just get so caught up in the story and really want to see how it's going to turn out. And I thought it worked all the way through. It's one of those underrated films not really a whole lot of people talk about, but it's one you should definitely check out. Big fan. So with that said, on to the last movie we have here, and that's the Rooster Teeth movie, Mystery Team.
You're the guy who puts milk in his butt.
Are we not just taking off clothes?
A murderer shoved a gun in my face.
I know, and I appreciate that.
2 dead bodies, that's my limit.
I'm finishing this case.
Where did you find this?
It's a long story.
No, it's not. Stripper beat it into a toilet.
Hey! Shut up.
And of course, let's not forget the film's biggest star, That's right, another movie with Corey Coleman attached from it. Corey Coleman, of course, from Spill and Double Toasted. It's like the third film I've covered in this show that he's been involved in. Space Jam, Courage Under Fire, and now this movie, Mystery Team. I said this was Rooster Teeth, but I think I got it wrong. I think this is a Derek comedy, but it's a comedy team that has Donald Glover among it. Of course, this is before, you know, he started Community, not but a month after its premiere in theaters. But you also have the feature film debuts of Aubrey Plaza, Ellie Kemper, Neil Casey, Ben Schwartz, and Bobby Moynihan, who would later go on to have comedy careers of their own. Ever since childhood, best friends Jason, Duncan, and Charlie, played by Donald Glover, DC Pearson, and Dominique Derricks, have been solving neighborhood crimes. The three young men get the chance of a lifetime when the local woman hires them to find her father's killer. All eyes are watching as the guy uses every item in their bag of tricks to crack the case. And I'm not too familiar with the Derrick comedy group in general. I mean, the only thing I know about is that Donald Glover is among the people in there. And watching the movie, it's just kind of like, I said this before with stuff like Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. Like, it feels like you need to know the style of comedy that those people are doing to really get the laughs out of it. With Brain Candy, I got the comedy, and I thought that was actually really funny. Here, not so much. I mean, it's not a bad movie by any means necessary. There are times when it can be funny, but I just feel like I don't know this group's style of comedy overall because I haven't really watched it. I mean, I know Donald Glover is a talented motherfucker. I mean, the guy has proven that time and time again how good he can really be, and everybody else in here is really good too. A lot of good talent in here that went on to become big comedy names in their own right. But as far as the film itself goes, I don't know. I don't hate it, but it's just kind of like, it's there. Like, sometimes I'll get a laugh there, but I would never tell anybody this is one you want to check out. I mean, unless you know the comedy group themselves. And I think if you know the comedy group more, you're definitely going to find a lot more value from it. But for somebody coming in relatively new and unaware of what these guys are capable of, yeah, I kind of feel like I was just kind of like, it's not great, but it's not bad either. So, mixed opinion on that one. So that's Mystery Team.